Well, there was a fair bit of talk after Wolves lost at West Ham yesterday that Bruno Lage's job as coach might be under a bit of threat. He's gone, Stevie Nicol, just one win and 3 draws this season. They're third bottom of the table. It's not really a surprise, is it, that Bruno Lage is no longer coach of Wolverhampton Wanderers?
No, obviously, when you get into that bottom 3, then all the eyes and pressure and everything's on you. And, not winning games, people will tell you that there's, when you go through a period of not winning games, as a coach, you can get away with it if you're competitive, if you're creating chances, if you're missing chances, if half your team's missing through injury, there are certain situations where you can ride what Lage has been going through. But the truth is, they don't look as though they're going to score a goal between now and the end of the season. And as organised as they are, and they're pretty solid defensively. The third bottom doesn't tell you how good they are defensively. I don't believe. The reason the third bottom is because they can't score a goal. I mean, it's really clear, and they don't look as, from the start of the season, they haven't looked as though they're going to score goals, because to do that you got to create, and they haven't done that, and that's down to the manager. That's his job. His job is to put players in positions where they'll succeed from a personal point of view, and then the team succeeds when everybody's at their best. He hasn't had anybody at their best. He hasn't put players in positions where they're going to succeed. And so when you get to a stage, certainly a team like Wolves, who have had plenty of managers, and they don't wait too long, don't really give you that long to recover, then you're going to be in trouble. And quite frankly, I don't think that it's a surprise to anybody. And I really don't think it'll be a surprise to Lage either, because he knows, sitting on the bench watching his team not creating, not scoring, and then you lose a goal, it just doubles the pressure. So not a surprise for anybody. And certainly, as I said, I don't think it'll be a surprise to Bruno Lage.
No. 18 months at Benfica, season and a half nearly at Wolves, 10th last season, just unable to get the goals required to get them up the table this season. The interesting thing for me now is what happens next, because this is a football club, Stevie, that is basically not quite Jorge Mendes FC, but the super agent's got a big say in which players come to the football club and, in essence, which managers. So they have to decide, are they going to continue with perhaps a Portuguese manager or a client of Jorge Mendes as the new head coach, or maybe deviate and kind of go in another direction? So it'll be intriguing to see what they do next.
Yeah, they won't do anything different. Listen, the model they have is what you see, and it will probably be another either Portuguese coach or a coach who's been coaching in Portugal. I mean, that's just their model. Unfortunately, you would have to say that as good as the model has been to get them where they are, if they want to take the next step, then they have to start spending more money on forward players. I mean, quite frankly, 10th last season is about where Wolves should be and where. And they've been unfortunate this season that they've had to go and sign Diego Costa because of injuries and as I said, because they're struggling up front. You're not going to get above 10th if you're relying on a player who's on the way down like Diego Costa is to get you out of trouble. So you have to invest more. You have to invest it earlier. And so in that regard, Wolves are letting down any manager that they bring in. Because, as I said, 10th place is probably where they should be, and that's if everything's going pretty smoothly. Football doesn't always go smoothly. Sometimes you're kicking above your weight or punching above your weight, and sometimes things just don't go for you, or you don't take chances, or you get injuries, and you end up struggling at the bottom of the table. That's where Wolves are now. It's not all down to Bruno Lage. I would say the model at Wolves, as successful as it's been so far, they have to change it a little bit and spend a little bit more money.
Okay. Final question. given you've just talked about spending money, with a coach, and there's a lot of good ones out there out of work right now. Now, it might not be the Portuguese model or the Jorge Mendes model or the Wolves model, but Everton spent a lot of money, supposedly 15 million a year to get Carlo Ancelotti. Now, whether it worked or whether it didn't work, those managers out of contract right now, out of work right now, include Pochettino and Tuchel and several others as well. If the price is right, would they consider a club like Wolves, which probably wouldn't even have been on their radar, but if they had a stupid amount of money thrown their way, is that something that you think Wolves might do? Or going back to what you said earlier, they're going to stick with this model, so there'll be no big name arrival?
Yeah, there'll be no big name arrival. You know, it's if you're a coach and you've got some common sense, and all the names that you've thrown out there clearly do, if he gets all the money and there's no money for the players, then it doesn't matter how good a coach you are. Look, at the end of the day, it's about what happens on the field, and you can stick Pep Guardiola on the end of Wolves, and it might not get them out of trouble. You have to invest in the squad, in my opinion. Yes, you need a good coach, but it's about the squad of players, and particularly a starting 11. And so for me, going out and giving anybody, Pochettino, let's say 20 million a year to go to the Wolves, that's not going to be enough to keep them up. So that's probably why they keep bringing in names that we don't really know much about. And Bruno Lage and Nuno Espirito Santo is another great example of them just pulling in coaches to coach their team. So I don't think Wolves fans can look forward to having a Pochettino or somebody of the caliber of an Ancelotti coming in. I just don't see that happening.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.